It is Monday, September 26th. My name is Davey, and this is GTFOLive. Sort of. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. As you can see, this is not GTFO, and we are not exactly live. But because I'm lazy and I don't really feel like doing a montage today, here's a tutorial on GTFO's badges, which you can find at GTFOLive.org/b. Basically, it doesn't really matter what image editor you use. I happen to use Flash because I find the vector tools much less complicated than Illustrator, but the same basic steps should apply even if you're using Photoshop or GIMP or whatever. If you're using Flash like me, you'll need to start off by making a new symbol. I'll tell you why a little bit later. Now, the first step that we're going to do is create ourselves 6 layers. Purely out of convenience, we're going to name them Border, Gradient, Pattern, Main, Text, and Gloss. Let's start on the border layer by drawing a 48 by 48 square with a 3-point rounded edge. Anyway, we'll go ahead and color it with a gradient. Any color you like, of course, so long as the top of the color is dark and the bottom is light. Flash has a gradient tool you can use to rotate the colors, but in Photoshop it should be automatic. On the gradient layer, we'll copy and paste the shape that we just made and resize it to 45 by 45. This gradient will make into a radial with the dark on the outside and light on the inside. This is of course very important because that's how you get the bubble effect we're going for. Now we're on to the pattern layer, and it could really be anything you like. It's even optional depending on the look you're going for. I'm going to go ahead and make diagonal bars though. Now a neat trick is to make a pattern and just slap it over the shape, and if you're working with vectors, you can use the gradient layer shape as a stencil by drawing an outline around it and then filling it with a different color. Then copy and paste that shape in place over the pattern layer to cut the extra off. And then you can just delete that shape. In Photoshop, of course, you could just select outside the shape in the gradient layer and then use it to delete the pattern layer. Now in the main layer you can put anything you like, obviously the main image. Do try to stick to simple shapes though, because it'll be easier to see when the badge itself is rather tiny. Here's one I prepared earlier. The font we're going to use in the text layer is Pixies. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo later. On my own badges, I make them classic text, size 7, and of course without anti-aliasing. This is important when you're using small retro fonts because Flash will automatically try to smooth it out and it kinda looks weird. We'll go ahead and add a shadow with a size of 2 pixels, 90-degree angle meaning it's pointing straight down, and a distance of 1. In Flash, you'll also have to set the high quality setting. Here's the fun part that some people may not get, and that is the gloss. Let's start by going to the border layer and then copying that shape. Go ahead and paste in place over the gloss layer. Now make an oval outline with a bottom arc that's subtle enough to be barely there, but still noticeable. Make sure it's away from the shape for now. Go ahead and delete the top of it, it'll just get in the way. Now center it over the shape so it's almost halfway, but a little lower. Now that you've divided the shape in two, delete the bottom part and then the outline because you don't need it anymore. Then we're going to change the gradient so that both sides are white. Change the opacity of one side to be 30% and the other side to be 5%. In Flash, you'll need to make sure that the gradient is centered around the shape. It's important that the top color is the more opaque one so that we can create that rounded glass effect, which is, the whole point of this. Meanwhile, the bottom color should be just barely visible over the image underneath. Now, the last thing we're going to do is add a shadow over the whole thing. If you're in Flash, you can go ahead and exit that symbol, and don't forget to drop it back into the stage because it just won't be there. The reason we made a symbol, of course, is that in Flash, only a few types of objects can actually have a shadow applied to them. We're going to go and use the same properties as the shadow over the text, which are size 2 pixels, 90-degree angle, which means it's pointing straight down, and a distance of 1. Don't forget to set high quality in Flash. And voila, there you have it, your very own badge. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, rate it even if you don't like it, comment below, suggestions are always welcome, and of course join us at GTFOLive.org. Fire!